no matter what tech you're talking about, it's going to be PowerPoint that doesn't work. All right, so like I said, just and nothing. So I just go to the third slide. Yeah. So the problem we really want to talk about today is about CLEANTECH diffusion. So the Canadian government has actually invested quite a bit of money. The slide does not transfer over. So I'll just start talking actually, not to wait for this. But the problem I want to talk about is CLEANTECH diffusion in Canada. So the Canadian government has actually invested billions of dollars in the development of clean technologies across different sectors. But these technologies tend not to be able to have an easy path to market because they're actually going to be integrated into established industries. What that means is industries that have had the same types of standards and codes for 30 plus years, so they've not had to innovate for a very long time. And the consequence of this is a lot of these technologies sort of die in what's known as the valley of death, and they don't see the path to market. So one of the big reasons that we want to tackle here is that without a standard or a code, you actually can't integrate your technology within an industry at all. So the companies tend not to be able to do that, and to get a standard socialized, it takes up to 25 years. So there's different mechanisms that you can actually use to sort of speed that process up, but they're not integrated into the standards development process. So just really quickly, how do you develop a standard? So in order to develop a standard, what you're going to need to do is, first of all, someone from the Canadian government is going to have to convene a panel of experts to come up with a testing protocol for your product. That testing protocol is designed to prove that your product does what it says it's going to do. Then you have to get another set of actors in there to be able to actually certify that that product, the tests are accurate and they've passed those tests. Once that's done, the results from those tests are gone to another different area, and those are aggregated to make sure that that you're saying what you're doing what you're saying you're doing, and that it's safe by the Canadian government. The added complexity here is that the agencies we've created in order to develop those different testing protocols are all disparate and independent, and they cannot be centralized because of political and jurisdictional reasons. So they have to work together, and they have to share specific pieces of information, but not all of the information can be put on the same network, which is where blockchain comes into play. So the way we wanted to look at this is by actually using the data, their own databases, to be able to indicate what types of information needed to flow, aggregate that into basically a smart contract, and then use a layer to show a no-knowledge protocol, a no-knowledge test, to sort of say that yes, this information is accurate and we can actually develop a standard from it. We do have a mock-up of a smart contract. I'll let Jessa talk to it a little bit here, but it looks like we're going to continue to have some trouble.
I think I got it.
Hey.
Yes. The authority, which would be responsible for passing or failing each CleanTech project, would have certain criteria that they would pass or fail the project on. Next, inside the smart contract, there would be a layer listening for when those different authorities completed the pass or fail. This would be done, when the data is committed on the blockchain, it would be encrypted and we use permissioning to restrict access. And when all the authorities have passed or failed based on their criteria, the next process could start, but the point that's important here is that it would be immutable and decentralized, and the parties wouldn't know exactly what was happening until the very end. Once approval is granted, a standard is generated, and then that standard goes to the parties that it needs to go to, including the applicant, who can then take that standard and finally go sell their CleanTech innovation. And that the valley of death becomes the valley of life for those startups.
We'll take questions now.
Yeah.
Okay, judges. So first, I appreciate that you guys have done kind of the industry level details analysis, which is really good because a lot of insights have generated out of your presentation. So my question is really about your go-to-market, right? Assuming you have something, which is the solution and the value propositions for those actors involved, who are the ones you're going to target and how you get them into your ecosystem?
Yeah, so my bad on that one, we were running through without the slide we know, so I kind of passed over it. So the Canadian government actually has a very strong climate change mandate right now, and every agency that they can influence has also an innovation climate change mandate. So each one of those actors is independently given a mandate to innovate, but they cannot be coordinated centrally. The entrant up here, Standard Council of Canada, has been given a special mandate not only to innovate for clean tech, but also to innovate in evergreen codes, which means getting codes done faster. So they actually have a budget as well as a mandate to be able to do that. Plus the Canadian government has also created an entry within the government itself to be able to revolutionize and innovate the central authorities that they can influence. So having had conversations with the Standards Council of Canada is probably the best benchmark to get into there, and then influence and create the rest of that consortium to be able to do it.
What's your predictions about like before process and after process, like efficiency and verification? What's your pitch to the startups?
Yeah, so right now it's 25 years to get socialized into a standard. There's a secondary stream that can take 6 months to 3 years to commercialize your product. So the